we have had for the last few years is to identify the best communities in America for kids, those that are doing the best job for kids. And every year we designate those 100 communities. Nashville has won all 4 times. You've got terrific programs out here. My wife now runs America's Promise, and she's so pleased that I'm out here and I can offer you my congratulations. I mean, you sometimes don't know what Nashville and what Tennessee has done. You're leading the country. You have gone from a 60% graduation rate to a 75% graduation rate in the last 10 years. And while we talk about the problems we're having in our economy, it begins with educating our kids. If we don't educate our kids, America ain't going nowhere.
He's got more security than the other one did.
I'm also glad to be back because I used to be stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Okay, all right. Fort Campbell in the house. Want to know? I used to command the 2nd Brigade of the 101st Airborne Division. We got 2nd Brigade people here? Let me see all the Fort Campbell people. All right. Where's the 502nd Infantry? Anybody here from the 502nd? Very good. Now you know, I gave up command 35 years ago. Long time. But the tradition used to be in the old days that if you were in the 101st and you had a coin, that, you know, if you would have challenged me with a coin, then, and if I didn't have one, I'd have to buy you a drink. But if it was the other way around, you'd have to buy me a drink. But because it's been 35 years, I know you don't expect me to have a coin. The question is, do you have a coin? My brother!
I got a nipple.
Military coin,
no excuse, sir. That's the answer. It's a great pleasure to be with you, but I have to be honest, I have to be very, very candid and honest with this distinguished crowd that at this stage of my life, at this stage of my career, it's a great pleasure to be anywhere. Not easy. Even though I've been out of government for a few years, I still think about those days late at night. I still think about the fact that there were days when every president, every king, every prime minister was calling me. Come see us. Please visit. Can we come see you? I think about the fact that one day every television commentator, every print reporter wanted to interview me. They all wanted to hear what I had to say. I still think about the fact that one day you're sitting there and you're the most important diplomat in the whole free world. One day you're sitting there and you're the Secretary of State of the United States of America. Next day you leave. You're just another guy. You pull the phones out, nobody calls you anymore. And you have to go through a transition to get back to being a normal person. But I'd gone through something like this once before in my life when I stepped down from being chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the #1 military position in the Armed Forces of the United States. And I knew I would go through the same kind of transformation when I left Secretary of State position. And I knew that the transformation begins at home. Transition begins at home. So the first morning after I left the Department of State, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my beloved wife of 49 years now.
I'm trying to get there.
We're having a leisurely cup of coffee, and I looked across the table at her lovingly, and I said, darling, this is the first day of the rest of our lives. I won't be getting up at 5:30 in the morning anymore. I won't be leaving you at 6:30 in the morning anymore. She froze. I could hear her mutter under her breath, my God, he's not leaving in the morning anymore. Doesn't understand how we've stayed married for almost 40 years. I realized that was not going to be a sustainable situation. I had to get out of the house and do things. But the real problem is that there's an emptiness that comes upon you. There's an intellectual and emotional gap that opens up inside of you that can be very, very depressive if you don't fill it with something after being at such a height. So I gave it a lot of thought. What will I do? What will I do? How will I fill this emptiness I feel inside of me? And the answer was perfect. The answer came right to me. I bought a Corvette. It works. Is anybody here way over 70 years old having trouble? Get a Corvette. I'm telling you. The police in Northern Virginia, not that happy with my Corvette. I have 5 police jurisdictions around me. They all know me. They radio each other. There he goes. We got him this time. I know he's speeding. Chase him. Get him. And so they'll chase me down George Washington Parkway right outside of McLean, Virginia, and pull me over. But they're all ex-GIs. So they'll walk up to the car and they'll come to attention and salute. And then they write me a ticket. Train them too well. It's okay, now look, you're having fun with all this retirement stuff, but are you really retired or are you busy? What are you doing? And the answer is, I'm probably as busy now as I've ever been in my life, but a different kind of busy. I keep my fingers in on military matters and diplomacy and foreign affairs, as you would expect. But my life really, what I actually do, is quite different, other directions now. I have the privilege of going around the country, going around the world, and speaking to people. Wonderful audiences such as we have here. Sometimes it just might be 20 businessmen. But the reason I love it is that it takes me to all different parts of our country. And it allows me to see what's really going on in the country and not just what I might see in Washington, D.C. or the East Coast or the West Coast. And what I see as I go around the country is people are concerned. You're worried about the economy. You're worried about our unemployment rate. You're worried about what's going on in other parts of the world affecting us and our troops, our beautiful, wonderful troops. All those things worry you, and they should. But what I really see, in addition to that, is that deep in your heart, you still have a belief in this country. You still have a level of confidence and optimism that we can take on anything, that we can beat any problem we have as long as we go at it. I get so pumped up by that I only wish when I go back to Washington I could bottle what I see out in the countryside and take it back to Washington and pour it over the heads of our politicians and tell them, you better get going. You better get going. I've been telling some of the Washington types recently, okay, you get mad about all these demonstrators down at Wall Street. It's kind of like the Arab Spring. They're coming your way, guys. You'd better fix this country. We're waiting for you to give us what we need to move forward in this 21st century world. Stop screwing around. Let's get going. Here's the problem. Our founding fathers created a system that was based on compromise. Fight strongly for what you believe in. Argue it. But at the end of the day, in order to move forward, you have to compromise. You have to give a little. Don't give up your principles, but give up the things on the edge that you can give up in order to get the country moving forward. Our founding fathers had to make one of the most tragic, terrible compromises imaginable. And that was, they had to compromise on slavery when they were writing the Constitution. They had to accept slavery in our nation in order to create a nation in the first place. And it took a long time to get beyond that. It took a lot of sacrifice. If they could make a compromise like that, can't the folks we have in Washington now make a compromise about not stopping the government or how to get a bill passed or to figure out where the spending cuts should be? And let me tell you what, don't expect some candidate for president to solve it for you. You all have to do it. It's who you vote for next year that determines how the country's going to go. So never forget, it is we the people that decide what takes place in Washington, but only if we vote for what we think is right. And if we vote for the balance that we need to make. So this is a part of my life. But I've also become a venture capitalist. I'm a partner in a company out in Silicon Valley called Kleiner Perkins. They're the ones who gave you Amazon and Google and all kinds of wonderful companies that I invested in. I'm so pleased to be out there. I want to see what's happening in the information revolution. What's next? What's next after smartphones? Look how that technology has changed the world. The Arab Spring, collapse of the Cold War, Iron Curtain, all of those things were done by the information revolution and the ability of people to see what's going on everywhere in the world. We're all interconnected now in a way that was unthinkable just 15 years ago. And I want to see what's coming next because, you know, I was born analog and I'm desperately trying to become digital to see what happens next. Not only to see what happens in the world, but to keep up with my grandchildren. My grandchildren, they were born digital, hardwired digital. And I have a heck of a time bonding with them anymore. The two youngest, the 4 and the 6-year-old, they were going somewhere recently with their aunt, and their Aunt Linda put them in the back of the car and strapped them in. And she started driving away, and they started shouting, Auntie Linda, stop, stop, stop. So she panics, she pulls over, she looks back, says, what's wrong, what's wrong? Auntie Linda, you didn't turn on the GPS, we won't know where we're going. The worst one is a 17-year-old. He is nailed his stuff. And it reached a point now where I can't even communicate with him. I said to him the other day, Brian, honey, you don't answer my emails anymore. You don't even answer my phone calls anymore. What's wrong? What did I do? Poppy, dear Poppy, you don't understand. We don't email anymore. And we don't use telephones anymore. What do? We text, Poppy. We just text. And we tweet. Brian, what's a tweet? Poppy, it comes from Twitter. Why don't they call it a twit? I'm so confused. I don't know nothing. He said, don't worry, we're going to get you a Twitter account. I don't want one. You got to have one. And you got to go on Facebook. No, I don't want to go on Facebook. I'm too old to need a social networking site. 3 days later, he says to me, Poppy, you are on Facebook already? Somebody pretended they were you and created a picture. You can't invade. We've got laws in this country. You can't invade my privacy like that. Get the lawyers. We're going to sue this kid. What's his name? Zuckerberg, who started Facebook? We're going to sue him for all he's got, or at least half of what he's got. And so get the lawyers. But Poppy, you already got 33,000 friends. Oh. You're done with it, right? And so that's an important part of my life. I'm spending a lot of time with my wife now. I'm on America's Promise, all kinds of youth programs. And I even have a center named after me at my alma mater, City College of New York. Great school in Harlem where I was born. I got a great public school education from kindergarten all the way through college without paying anything for it. That's what an education system should do. Having said that, I wasn't the greatest student they ever saw. In fact, after 4.5 years at CCNY, going on 5, with very mediocre grades, changed my major twice. The administration in college said, look, he gets straight A's in ROTC. So why don't we take those A's in ROTC, roll it into his grade point average, and see what that looks like, and maybe we can do something with it. So they did that, and it brought me up to 2.0. And they said, good enough. Give him a degree, give him to the Army, we'll never see him again. Now I'm considered one of the greatest sons the City College of New York has ever had. And the fun I have with this is when I talk to kids in school, I do a lot of that, for audiences such as this, but especially the kids, when I say to them, it is where you start in life, it's where you end up, and what you do along the way. Do you believe in yourself, in your country? Do you work hard? Do you study hard? You have to remember, it is not just the schools that we need to fix, and you've been doing a great job of that. But you also know here in Tennessee and Nashville that it is the schools and teachers that we have to work on, but more importantly, we have to work on the family. If a kid doesn't have people, if a young kid is not read to, is not taught numbers, colors, how to tell time, how to mind adults, when that youngster gets to the 2nd grade, by the time he gets to the 2nd grade, he already knows he's behind, and he starts acting out that he's behind, and he will be in jail when he drops out 14 years from now. We've got to get into the family structure of our country to fix these kids in the first place. So this is all an important part of my life. And people say, well, you know, it's great you have so many different interests, but it can't be the same as being Secretary of State. You got to miss that. Nope. I don't miss anything in life. I want to go through life looking through the front windshield. What's next? Not what's behind me. I don't look in the rear view mirrors or side view mirrors. I can't change anything back there. Always want to be looking ahead. So that's a good attitude to have, but come on, young fellow. There's got to be something you miss about no longer being Secretary of State. Yeah, there's one thing I miss, and I miss it very, very badly. I miss my airplane. I had my own 757. Everywhere I went, it was always waiting for me at the terminal. I was in a foreign capital, I'd drink tea with my host and I'd wait until they rolled a long red carpet out to my plane. When it was time to leave, I would say goodbye, I'd put my teacup down, and I would start down the red carpet. And a band would be playing. And an honor guard would present arms. And I'd walk down into the plane on the red carpet, waving to the adoring crowds that were there. I would get to the steps to my plane. The left foot would hit the bottom step, the right engine would start. I get to the top of the steps, the left engine would start up. I go into my private cabin, sit down, put my seatbelt on and wait until a steward came in with a Diet Coke in a silver tray. And when he took the Diet Coke off the tray and hid it on the table so that everybody could sort of know that I had my Coke, at that moment, the plane would immediately start to move. It was so cool. They took my plane away, they gave it to Condi, now Hillary's got it. No problem. I gotta get back to being normal. Coming out here this morning, I got in one of those little Brazilian airplanes that, it's like an MRI machine when you go inside. Went down to Reagan National Airport, 6 o'clock this morning, Washington, D.C. I got in the line. Oh, come on, General Powell. Obviously, you're the former secretary. When they see you getting in the line, don't they come and take you around? Au contraire. I can see all the TSA guys whispering, General Powell's here again. We got to make sure that nobody here thinks there are any exceptions. And then they call a guy out who's the honor graduate of TSA one-name school. And he comes out with a dog, and the dog smells me. And then they take all my things off and run me through the machine, and then he starts to whine. And I get annoyed. But I can't get too annoyed. I helped put this system in place. That was the system we needed. We should be so pleased that we have not had an attack like 9/11 since 9/11. Every now and then some nut pops up and the FBI catches them pretty quickly. The reality is that through deterrence and defense at our airports and elsewhere, through what our brave troops are doing around the world, we are a lot safer than we ever were. At the same time, we have to remember something that I said to President Bush about a year and a half after all of this stuff started. Mr. President, we're a lot safer now, but we don't want to be so safe that people don't want to come here because it's too hard to get a visa or they get hassled at our airports. We want them to come here. We want them to come to our great recreational facilities and our great universities, like all of the universities you have here in Nashville. We want them to come to our great hospital centers. We want to remain an open, welcoming nation because the facts are simply this. The terrorists might be able to get through again. Can't be 100% sure. We can hold them all out. And we may lose some other citizens. We may see another building knocked down. But we'll rebuild and we'll mourn. But there's something that no terrorist can do. Not one of them, not 10,000. They can't change who we are and what we are as an open, welcoming nation. Only we can do that to ourselves. We must not do that to ourselves. When I left the Army so many years ago, I thought that was the end of my public service. I was honored when President Bush did ask me to be the Secretary of State. The first morning going down to the Department of State, Alma said to me at the kitchen table, "Now listen, you're not in the Army anymore." I know. You go down there this morning, remember these are Foreign Service officers and ambassadors and diplomats. Don't go down there and act like you're taking over some infantry battalion somewhere. Yes, dear. Go down to the State Department, I walk into the lobby, about 500 employees are waiting for me. I go up to the lectern, I look over the crowd, I can only think of one thing to say. "Good morning, troops, how are you?" Because I don't care what you said, they were my infantry battalion, because I don't know any other way. I don't know any other way. I've been privileged to command troops of 40 and 3 million. I have been in the private sector, I have been in the public sector, nonprofit world, and so I've had a lot of leadership and management experiences. And I go about them all the same way. Take me off this stage, take me back to your office, take me anywhere you want, and give me a leadership and management position with you at any level, and I will act the same way as I did when I was secretary or chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And it's the basic information, the basic education I got in the infantry school at Fort Benning, Georgia, so many, many years ago. I left New York City, went to Benning for my infantry training, and when you drive onto the post, you see the motto of the infantry school: follow me. Me is me, but follow is the verb. Follow is what they focused on. Because from follow, you get followership and followers. And what they drilled into us, Lieutenant Powell, all you other lieutenants, your purpose in life as a leader is to put the followers in the best possible position to get the job done. Always remember that they get it done. They go up the hill. You may be behind them, you may be with them, but they're the ones who get it done. They're the ones who get it on the factory line down. They're the ones who get it done in the offices. So always be focusing on the followers. And the way you start doing that is, first and foremost, give human beings entrusted to your care missions and goals to accomplish, something they can all rally around. But a word I've been using more and more often is give human beings a sense of purpose. Any group of people working together have to not only have missions and goals, the number of things we put out every single day, but they have to know why they're doing it. What is the purpose? How are they serving society? How are you serving your fellow man? What are you doing for your community and your country? That's the purpose. In my beautiful suite of offices at the State Department, looks like an 18th century mansion, antiques in every corner. And every night before I left, somebody came in right behind me to clean up. And I would always stop and talk to that person. How are you? How's everything? How are the kids? Need any assistance with your job? Everything going okay? Oh, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Everything's fine. So, thanks so much. I'm really pleased that you're doing this important work. I wanted that person to know that her purpose in life was not to clean the desk or to sweep the floor. Her purpose was to make sure that tomorrow morning, when people came from all over the world to see the Secretary of State, that office was shining. It was a beautiful reflection of me, of the United States of America. I didn't ever want her to think that I only saw her as a janitor. I saw her as somebody with a purpose, and without her achieving her purpose, I couldn't get my job done. There is no unimportant job in any organization. That's what you have to do. If you want to be a successful leader, you have to convey to every single person in the organization their value and how you couldn't get it done without their effort. Next thing they drilled into us is take care of the troops. If you want them to believe in your purpose, missions, and goals and all that stuff, you got to take care of them. Give them the skills they need, the training they need, the equipment they need, tools and weapons. In the case of the State Department, we're an information organization. We don't make anything. We live in information. And I found ancient computers there when I arrived in January of 2001. They weren't going to believe in me unless I did something about the information system. So I bought 44,251 computers. Put a computer in every desk in every embassy in every office throughout the world, connected it all together with the most modern software, and then changed the brainware of the organization. Guys, we're now moving at 186,000 miles per second. We're going to be emailing instead of sending cables. And then they said, this guy's serious. We believe in him. Next thing they drilled into us was take care of your troops by also recognizing them. Recognize good performance. Sometimes it's with a promotion or a medal or bonus of some kind, but very often it's just that human connection. Put your arm around somebody and say, hey man, you're doing a great job. I'm so glad you're part of my team. I just called your wife, I just called your husband, let them know how valuable your family is to our organization. I write lots of notes to people who are doing good jobs under my supervision. Little 4x6 cards, my name printed on it. I just scribble it out. Dear so-and-so, I was down your way the other day. You're doing a terrific job. Thanks for being a part of my team. Couldn't get it done without you. Signed, Colin Powell. It cost me 10 seconds, and it cost 10 cents. But wait. Here's the bit. This little card, 10 cents and 10 seconds. The next time I'm down in that guy's office, he's got it mounted in a $150 frame. Why we all? It isn't hard. I snuck away from my office one day, and I went went into the garage of the State Department. I was all alone. They dumped my bodyguards and assistants. They didn't see me sneak out. I wanted to know how they got all those cars in there in the morning. And they're contract employees who were doing it. They're all immigrants. They're all from God knows where. So I'm wandering around down there, and they spot me, and they come over and say, Mr. Secretary, why are you here? Are you lost? Can we help you get back upstairs? No, I wanted to talk to you guys. You want to talk to us? Yeah. Tell me, where are you from? Chad. Where are you from? Honduras. How much you make? Oh, a couple bucks over minimum wage. How are the kids? Fine. Tell me, too much carbon monoxide down here? Are you okay? Sir, we're fine, thank you. I said, look, I know that there are so many cars that you have to stack them every morning, 1, 2, and 3. And 2 and 3 can't leave until 1 goes first. So how do you decide every morning who's number 1, who's number 2, who's number 3? And so they look at each other for a moment, and then one of them says, this secretary kind of goes like this. If when you pull in, you stop. If you lower your window, look out at us, smile, and say, good morning, how are you? You number 1? Something you don't understand about this? If you don't, if you just, you're 2 or 3. It means that the person receiving this kindness from you, this expression, is bonded with you. What you are saying with that simple act is, I know you're a human being just like me. You have dreams and fears and ambitions and wants, and I'm going to help you satisfy all of that because I believe in you and I want you to believe in me. That's what leadership's all about. Getting human beings connected together to accomplish a job. Now, it isn't all nice and soft stuff like I've been describing. If you also want to be a leader, you cannot tolerate poor performers. You get somebody who's not getting the job done, you retrain them, you move them, or guess what? You fire them. If you can't keep up with me, if you can't achieve the purpose with me, you got to go. I will not let you hold the good followers back. That's the way it has to be. And that's all I know about leadership. I don't know anything else about leadership. A sergeant told me at Fort Benning, Lieutenant Powell, you'll know you're a good leader if your troops will follow you only out of curiosity. Day will come when they're scared, they're afraid. Got to go up a hill. Just got a new competitor in the marketplace who's lost market share. If at that point, when they're terrified, don't know what's coming next, they'll follow you only out of curiosity to see how you get them out of it, where you take them. Then you'll know you've been a good leader. What he was really saying is, they'll follow you because they trust you. Trust is the essence of every good organization. Trust among the people of a good organization. It's a glue that holds it together and the lubricant that keeps it moving forward. And that's what I tried to practice in my career. I did it in the State Department for the 4 years I was there. Difficult 4 years. We had all the challenges that you're so well aware of. You see them tonight on your television sets. Afghanistan, Iraq, what's going on in the Arab Spring, Iran, North Korea. Lots of challenges. But all these challenges really affect only about 500 million people in a world of 7 billion people. And we'll work our way out of these challenges. Sooner or later we'll be out of Iraq and out of Afghanistan. It's time for them to take over responsibility for their own countries. Remember this. The most powerful political force at work out there is really not these conflicts. It's what the rest of the world is doing. The 500 million people are having these difficulties. Of the 7 billion, 6.5 billion are off trying to make their economies function better. That's what China has been doing. India is doing. Brazil, Argentina, Chile, here in Latin America, in Central Europe, and even in Africa, we see this. And that's what America has to do. Realize that the most powerful force at work is 21st century economics, and we've got to fix our economic system. We also need the energy to do that. And we also have to do it in a way that we don't hurt our environment any longer. And so the world is rapidly changing from the world I started out, the worlds of Cold Wars and Soviet Unions and Red Chinas. All of that has gone, and it is now economic development, and that's what we have to focus on. People say, well, with this new world, is America still number 1? I said, we used to be number 1 and everybody else was 13, 14, 15. Now we're still number 1, and they're 2, 3, and 4. They've come up, and that's good. I want people to come up out of poverty and destitution. That's good. But don't sell us short. We're still the inspiration to the rest of the world. We're still the ones they come to when they need a problem solved, whether it's in the Middle East or anywhere else. We're still a unique nation. People say, are you sure, General Powell? I said, let me just give you just two examples, and I'll close with these two examples of what the world still sees in America. Both examples have to do with my hometown, New York. There was a Japanese businessman who was very, very famous and a multi-billionaire. He travels all the time. And he was being interviewed on television, Japanese television one night. And the interviewer says to him, as you travel around the world, which is your favorite city? And he immediately says, New York. And the guy says to New York, why not Rome, London, Paris? Why New York? And the Japanese businessman says, because New York City is the only city in the world where, when I walk down the street, people come up to me and ask for directions. It could be any city in America like that. Back to New York. Whenever in my hometown, I love to walk up Park Avenue or Fifth Avenue on a beautiful afternoon, looking at the shops and the stores, the whole world going by. But I always have to stop at one of the cross streets, numbered cross streets, to buy me a hot dog. One of those wonderful New York hot dogs with mustard on it and red onion relish. They gotta have one. I even did it when I was Secretary of State. I'd come out of the Waldorf Astoria, start walking up Park Avenue. But in those days, I had 5 bodyguards around me and 3 New York City police cars rolling alongside to make sure nobody whacked me as I went up Park Avenue. But I would still stop at the cross street and go up to the pushcart peddler who was making the hot dogs, an immigrant. And I would order my hot dog, and he'd start to fix my hot dog, and then he'd look around and see all the bodyguards and the police cars. I've got a green card! I've got a green card! Now I'm all alone. I got no police cars, I got no bodyguards, I got no airplanes, I got nothing. Still have to have my hot dog. I'll order the hot dog. The guy's fixing it.
Probably one of his personal
Finishes
people,
it.
though.
Start to hand it to me.
Probably his personal assistant.
I know you. I see you on television. Were you General Powell? Yeah. Oh. He hands it me. And then I hand him the money. General, no. You don't have to pay me. You can't pay me. General, I've been paid. America's paid me. I'll never forget where it came from. And now I'm here. I'm in America. So General, please. Take care. I accept his generosity. I continue up the street, and all flows over me all over again. My God, this is still the same country that greeted my parents that way 90 years ago. And as long as we never forget, that's who we are. An open nation, open to the rest of the world. A nation of nations. We touch every nation touches us. As long as we never forget that's our past, our present, and our future, we'll continue to be the leader of this